It's Monday Night Football at Allegiant. Can the Raiders ground the Falcons in primetime? ESPN's Dan Orlovsky previews the matchup. Plus, which Raiders are playing for their future? Raider Nation Radio's Jason Horowitz stops by to tell us just who to look out for. And he's one of the NFL's top linebackers. Raiders linebacker Robert Spillane joins our set. The Silver and Black Show starts now. Welcome into the Silver and Black Show, everyone. I'm Theoharis. The Raiders take a scrappy team into Monday Night Football. The world is going to get a close look at a group of gritty young players who've been taking playoff contenders all the way down to the wire, many of whom are rookies or backups fighting for their place on an NFL roster. The Raiders are not an easy out. Just ask the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Bucks. And the resilience they continue to show week after week in a season that has gone anything but right will surely be a win for the future of this franchise. And to talk about the Raiders and their Monday night matchup on ESPN, we welcome in Dan Orlovsky, who is on his way to the studio right now. You can always catch him on NFL Live. Dan, you are a man in transit. We appreciate you taking a little time for us. It's good to see you.
Of course, it's good to see you. I'm excited to get out to Las Vegas and call the game and kind of watch a lot of that young talent you referenced.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, I use the word scrappy. I think that's the national opinion right now. The Raiders have taken one-score games into the fourth quarter, into the last four games, and they've played playoff contenders, as I said, despite playing a ton of backups out there. So what does that tell you about this team?
You got to love, at least for AP, Antonio Pierce, the culture that feels as an everyday part of the organization, that you are getting a group that's just trying to get vacation plans or where are we going or how quickly can the season get done. Obviously, the daily habits are paying off. I think the big thing, at least in my eyes, when I watch the tape that stands out is that there's talent. That's the thing that is tough to sometimes reconcile is you sit there and you look at some of the young talent that's performing and at some point the win or, man, that's another close loss. And when is it going to come over the home? But you do appreciate the way the team is competing.
One of the biggest problems, and look, we keep it 100 over here, the Raiders haven't had a viable quarterback situation all year long.
Sure.
They might not have a chance to fully evaluate Aiden O'Connell. We don't know if he's going to go or not. Minshew's on the IR. And then, as you know, you guys have said this a million times on ESPN, Shedeur Sanders tweets, "Thank you, God," every time the Raiders lose.
Yeah.
So what do you think the Raiders should do about the quarterback situation going forward? It's clearly the problem this year.
Oh, you find your quarterback. You don't matter until you do. There is no doubt about it that quarterback is by far the number one thing that will be picked at least right now, sitting at the 1 or 2 spot. It's going to be Shedeur or more than likely Cam Ward out of Miami. I'm a huge fan of both of them. I haven't studied them in totality. If you draft Shedeur Sanders, you're drafting Geno Smith in Seattle. You're drafting a Tua Tagovailoa type of player. If you draft Cam Ward, you're getting a ridiculously talented young man. He's got a lot of Caleb Williams similarities in his game. I don't know if he's that high talent-wise, but both of those guys will be in conversation if they stay at that 1 or 2 pick.
And I'll tell you some very difficult decisions to make, some crucial decisions, I should say, in the offseason. Whoever is under center, though, for the Raiders coming up next year is going to have one heck of a weapon in Brock Bowers. What makes him a quarterback's dream as a tight end?
Yeah, I mean, physically, he's really talented. I mean, he is a physical 6'4", 225-pound guy that is physically a very talented young man. I think the second thing is he's got such an understanding of body language, space, how you can lean into guys to get open. He's very friendly to a quarterback with how he speaks to him with his body of when I'm going to get out of a cut or where I'm going to go. He's got a great feel for contested catches. You know, there's just a high level of I throw the ball to you and good things happen mindset. And so he's a dynamic. I've said this, if the team had been doing better, he would be very much so in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year, along with players like a Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. But that often comes with team success attached to it. But Amber, I love Brock. I called his games at Georgia. I think some of their young talent along with him is really good. I think Michael Mayer is starting to show some good stuff. I've been a fan of Jacoby Myers since, the Patriot days. I think Tucker's had some nice moments. So, but Brock has been fantastic to watch.
Regardless of what you think about a winning team or not, do you think he should be the Rookie of the Year? I mean, you could also have the argument that without a star quarterback, he's put up historic numbers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Should he be? He's in that conversation.
Yeah.
That's just not the reality of the league. You have two young quarterbacks that, one has taken a franchise that has been, mired in below mediocrity, and they're in the playoffs, and Jaden Daniels, and he's been on fire. And then you have another quarterback that, is surging, and he's got a team in the playoffs right now, and Bo Nix in Denver. So as much as I have loved Brock and appreciate him, and it should be champion, he's going to be a star, one of those two quarterbacks is going to win it.
All right, like I said, we keep it 100, so I appreciate the honesty. Let's talk about the game. Monday Night Football, ESPN. What is the number one thing at that first snap that you're going to be looking for from the Raiders on Monday night?
Yeah, I want to see how they attack the secondary in Atlanta. It's a really talented group. Both those safeties and Simmons and Jesse Bates are really good players. They're really smart players. The defense for them has played better over the past couple of weeks. It was a weakness for a stretch. So how they're going to attack the secondary with some of their, shots down the field that has become a staple under the Turners. And then also Kirk Cousins is struggling more than he ever has in his career. And can this defense that I will say has had some good moments, can this defense really make him uncomfortable? If you force him, even right now, to slightly move in the pocket, he won't. And you have the opportunity to either have that pressure affect him or kind of get drops in your zone coverage, and the way that he's throwing the ball into windows and forcing it is concerning for the Falcons. Can the Raiders take advantage of that? You have to stop their zone run game. They are going to get Chason and Crosby are going to get zone run game at them, meaning double teams all game long. If they stop that, huge advantage. They're going to see it in a ton of different ways. That'll be the big challenge.
What makes Bijan Robinson so dangerous?
He's a perfect marriage for that zone run scheme. That zone run scheme wants you as a defense to have to, almost like an accordion, expand. And they get you running sideways instead of vertically. And he's got a really good physical skill set to press. And then right when he sees light window vision, a seam, put his foot in the ground and get vertical. And when he gets vertical through that seam, it's a burst through that seam. And not all backs have that skill set. He does. It doesn't take 3 or 4 steps for him to hit that cut. And you have to have a really good first set vision of where's the hole. And then the second vision is where's the flow of the defense, because then that creates a second hole. And his talent and skill is a perfect marriage for that.
I want to go back to what you said about Kirk Cousins. He is struggling. Where do you stand on is it Michael Penix time? I mean, they're still in the race.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Conversation, I'm sure that's being had in the building, but I'm not there yet, because if the Chargers go out and beat the Bucks on Sunday, well, then the Falcons walk into Monday night with a win, get back into first place. And, there's a lot of conversation of Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix and the draft and all that. It's hard, I think, to tell your football team with the chance to get back into first place, who has been in first place for most of the season, we're going away from the guy that has been a really good player for a long time in this league, and we paid a lot of money for the unknown. We don't get to see Michael Penix in practice every day. I have no idea if he's lighting it up or if he's been terrible. I think you have to give Kirk Cousins the time to work himself out of this rut and believe that at some point he's going to turn the page and get back to the player he was.
On the flip side, though, do you think this is a real opportunity for the Raiders defense to force some turnovers? They have been very bad at that. They have not been good at taking the ball away, and then they got 2 last week against the Bucks. But look, Kirk Cousins has been coughing the ball up. He's thrown a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, it is. And the weird thing is they've been egregious interceptions. They're giveaways more than takeaways. There's times as a quarterback where you get careless and reckless with the ball, or you get overly aggressive and force it. Many of these are just overly aggressive and forcing it, or just absolutely not seeing coverage, which again is abnormal for him. I think if the Raiders play really good sound zone coverage, they are going to have opportunities to get their hands on the ball. If they get the Kirk Cousins that they have in the past 4 weeks, if the Falcons aren't going to run play action, which they, for some reason they've gotten away from, yeah, this is an opportunity for them to get multiple takeaways.
All right, you already mentioned that you think that the Raiders offense, it would be good to attack that secondary that's been struggling, but there's a guy named Sincere McCormick that's come out off the practice squad and is averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Do you think it would behoove the Raiders to use him? Antonio Pierce has said, look, he's earned the right to have more carries.
Yeah, you've got to like what McCormick's done. The Falcons don't excel in anything defensively. So I'm not saying that they're the Cincinnati Bengals in a way that they've struggled defensively this year. But yeah, McCormick's been really good, and you like the fact that he's married with the Turners really well. We just want to get, it's almost an efficient run game philosophy. They may not be trying to hit these explosive runs that some teams have tried to get into the NFL scheme-wise this year, but let's get efficient runs and really try to control the line of scrimmage and avoid some of the negative runs. And I think that's an addition that McCormick's brought for them. And I like that married with some of the shot plays downfield that they've really leaned into over the past 5 or 6 weeks.
All right, with everything you said, and I know I didn't give you any chance to think about this, give me a bold prediction, something that you wouldn't be surprised if you saw that wasn't expected in this game.
A bold prediction. I'll go bold because, naturally I'd be like, Max Crosby has 3.5 sacks. That wouldn't be that bold because it feels like he can do that relatively simply. I'm going to say that Jacoby Myers goes over 100 yards receiving. Like I mentioned before, I'm a big fan of his. I think the secondary or the second level of Atlanta's defense, you can put a lot of things to their attention, a shift, a play action, and that creates some chunks. And if I were the Raiders, I would try to utilize some of that vertical play action or stressed play action to hit some of those crossers that they have in their game.
I love it. Jacoby is one of the most underrated route runners also in the NFL. Doesn't get the love
Absolutely.
he deserves, and I appreciate you giving it to him. Dan Orlovsky, you are such a busy man. I think you're on like a 2-hour trip between Connecticut and New Haven. I don't know where you are right now, but we can't wait to see you out there.
Me neither.
Get out. I have no idea where I am. Yeah. But we do know you're going to be in Las Vegas. We'll see you up there in the booth, and we look forward to seeing you. Thanks for making some time.
Thank you. My pleasure, Amber.
All right, well, coming up, who of the Raiders' next men up could actually be here to stay? We asked the voice of the Raiders, Jason Horowitz, coming up next on the Silver and Black Show.
Taste is not an option. Taste is everything. 1800, the world's most awarded tequila.
Some days are long, some nights never end. I'm on the fleeting seconds flight, I pray to the coming wind. And time like snow never stood around for me. I've loved every sky I've ever seen.
In 300 feet, turn left.
With Cox's fiber-powered internet, you can do brilliant things.
Exit approaching.
Like upload your voice to Dad's GPS in no time flat.
And I miss you, Daddy. Happy birthday.
Get multi-gig download speeds powered by fiber. Upgrade your internet today with Cox, the nation's fastest internet provider. Limited availability in select areas.
Raiders.com is your home for all things silver and black, featuring exclusive interviews with players and coaches, breaking news, and daily content. Raiders.com keeps you up to date all season long. The Silver and Black Show is brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. 1800 Tequila, official partner of the Raiders. Taste is everything. Please drink responsibly. And by Allegiant, the official airline of the Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights, only at Allegiant.com. You learn a lot about a player by the effort he puts on a field when his team has been eliminated from the playoffs. But many Raiders are fighting for more than just pride right now. They're fighting for next year's roster spots. Who stands out? Raider Nation Radio's Jason Horowitz is here to help us answer that question. And it's good to see you. Happy holidays to you, Jason.
Same to you. I think it'll be a fun night on Monday. We'll see. We'll see if we can snap this losing streak, right?
I think everybody would be looking forward to that. But you know what? You have to give this team credit. They're still coming to play every single week under Antonio Pierce. What do you make of this team's refusal to quit?
Yeah, I mean, I think and Lincoln and I talked about this during the game in Tampa on the air. I think you could categorize the pre-bye team and the post-bye team, because before the bye, there were a lot of games that this team was not in the second half. You go back to Denver, you just go to the Pittsburgh game, you go to the Cincinnati game, and it just didn't look good. And since the bye, it's been a different story. The Miami game all the way through the fourth quarter, the Denver game at home, obviously Kansas City all the way to the end when you had the unfortunate miscommunication between Aiden O'Connell and Jackson Powers-Johnson. And then, even more so, the Tampa Bay game maybe stands out the most because 14-0, 2 drives in, getting blown out on the road, early start, completely changed in the second quarter. So to your point about effort and finding those players who are putting a lot forward here, you are certainly getting a lot of that here the last couple of weeks.
Who are some of the players that you see taking advantage of this opportunity that might be key pieces for the Raiders roster next year?
Well, Sincere McCormick's the one that's been talked about the most the last 3 weeks. He finally got an opportunity, a guy that had a torn ACL when he was an undrafted free agent in 2022. And, last year buried behind Jacobs and Zamir White and Amir Abdullah, so we understand why. And this year, if it weren't for the injuries to Alexander Madison, Zamir White, he may never have gotten that chance. But he's over 5.5 yards a carry. He's hitting the hole hard. Everyone's talking about what he's doing. He showed his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. He's clearly a guy that in college was very productive, helped UTSA to a 12-win season. So he's one that stands out. I think DJ Glaze has played really well. That's not just of late. That's really since he got that first start week 4 against Cleveland. And I don't know that anyone thought going into this year until we got to training camp that he'd be a key part of the offensive line. But the Atlanta game, I believe, is going to be his 10th or 11th straight start. And so he's playing really well and showing out. On the defensive side, Kayvon Chaisson's a guy that was picked up pretty much for nothing after the waivers went through, when Malcolm Kuntz went down. And the last 3-4 weeks, he's really showing up. He's getting in the backfield. He's making a lot of plays. So he's standing out. Amari Burney had his first career sack. He's not playing a ton of defensive snaps, but he's standing out. And I think, Trayvon Merrick, not that he's the guy that anybody really doubted. I think you would have assumed going into this year that he was going to have a key role in this defense as a starter for a fourth year. But when Marcus Epps went down, his role changed. And he has been a major, major contributor on this roster, and hopefully a key piece they have moving forward, because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year.
It is funny that you bring him up. He was somebody I was going to ask you about the very next question. I feel like he doesn't get a lot of love, and he's really been a premier safety for this team.
He has. And I think part of that is because a couple of years ago when I first took over, his role on this team was questioned, especially going into last year, as someone who absolutely had to play better for him to keep his starting position. And he did that last year. And then this year he took it up a notch. And, he's making a lot of tackles, which you never really want your secondary to do, but he's doing it. And he's doing it, I think, the more impressive part, he's doing it closer to the line of scrimmage. He's coming on with blitzes. He's been very productive. He's getting his hands on balls. He's had interceptions. He had the fumble recovery. He's in the right place at a lot of times. And his role had to change. Again, Marcus Epps was the communicator back there. He goes down earlier this year. Merrick has to take over, and he's been really good.
I'll tell you who's always good is Max Crosby. He continues to do what he does despite having an ankle issue. At times, you can see it affecting him. He was just named the Raiders nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. How have you seen Max just continue to lead this team, even when they're out of contention, which is very difficult for a guy with a motor like that?
Well, sure. And, you've heard different quotes from his podcast, and some of them have been taken out of context. He's in a lot of different places, right? He's on the show with Jim Gray and Bill Belichick and those guys on Sirius XM, and he's got his own podcast. We hear him after games, we see him after games, but there's no quit in this team. And a lot of people are talking about it because of Antonio Pierce, and that's very true, but you can clearly tell there's no quit in Max Crosby. Look, the Walter Payton Man of the Year takes into account a lot of different things, not just your play on the field. Crosby is a guy who has changed his life around the last few years. And I think that itself has carried its own weight in how it translates to on the field. We are watching a potential Hall of Famer week after week, never coming off the field despite injuries. I think it's 7 straight games where he hasn't missed a defensive snap. And you keep playing when you see your biggest star keep playing, even when the team is 2-11. And from a playing perspective, there's no question that Max Crosby is the leader of this team.
I'll tell you, I want to go back to what you were talking about with the run game with Sincere McCormick, because it really is a heck of a story. Because think about this, kind of lay out for our viewers the situation he was coming into. He was a practice squad guy. They had just let a league-leading rusher walk because they had so much faith in Zamir White. You bring in a guy that's a proven 1-2 punch in Alexander Madison, and all of a sudden we're talking about Sincere McCormick. I mean, it's quite a story.
Yeah, no, there's no question. And, this league is full of players who get opportunities because of injuries. I mean, the gentleman who's now part owner of the Raiders is the living proof of that, right?
True.
If Drew Bledsoe doesn't get hurt on the sideline, we may never know Tom Brady. And, obviously you'd think that would have come to fruition, but who knows? Because Drew is, in terms of yards and history, he's got big numbers too. So, I think, when you come to the way that this season has unfolded, Luke Getsy installed a different offense. It didn't work. He got fired going into the bye. The offense has changed. The running game has changed. But then the injuries to Zamir White, which were early and then late, now he's on IR. And Alexander Madison, you could not question his effort and his ability and his likability among this team. But he hasn't been able to play the last 3 weeks. And so you get a guy who I think it's important to point this out. It's not like UTSA has this strong history of college football. And I got to go back and look at this, Amber, but I think UTSA became a football program again in like 2012.
Yeah. So,
or maybe for the first time ever. So I think, he helped put a program on the map as a running back they were 12-2 in like 7th year of college football. And so he's got that, but he never got that chance because he was, first of all, he would have been behind Zamir White anyway, because he was a drafted running back. Sincere tears his ACL in May of his rookie year and never gets that chance. Never really stands out, at least from games in preseason. But I think everyone would tell you that who cares about preseason games when you get the opportunity in a regular season game. And the thing that has changed the most with this offense is that in the last 2 or 3 weeks, second down hasn't been 2nd 8, 2nd 9. It's been 2nd 4, 2nd 5. And you can credit him a lot with why that is.
It's because of Sincere McCormick a lot of the times. We don't know who's going to go on Monday night, if it's going to be Aiden O'Connell or if it could be Desmond Ridder against the team that drafted him. But just a bigger question of how does Scott Turner navigate these last 4 games at quarterback?
Well, I would say this from a storyline perspective, if it is Desmond Ridder, it's the guy going against the team that drafted him and then the team that shipped him away because they signed Kirk Cousins and drafted Michael Penix. Mm-hmm. So from a storyline perspective for Monday Night Football, Desmond Ridder getting the nod is a bigger story, at least nationally and for 1 week and all of those things. From a what do you have at quarterback next year conversation, both of these guys having that opportunity, for whatever the quarterback situation is going to look like is certainly part of the conversation. From a Scott Turner perspective, I think Desmond Ridder, if he knows he's the starter going in, gives you a chance to do more outside the pocket. He is a guy that can run. He is a mobile guy. We haven't really had a chance to see it. He's only really come in situations where two quarterbacks have gotten hurt. Once it was Gardner Minshew and once it was Aiden O'Connell. And when he came in those situations, the team's already down 2 scores late in the game. So it's a different type of situation. So if you put him in from the beginning part of the game, you really get a chance to see what he can do with an entire game. And I think, at least for Desmond's sake, I think that's important because we never got a chance to see what he can do when the other team is not coming after him with 4, 5, 6 guys, because he has been sacked basically once every 7 times he drops back to pass.
Yeah.
But I think that's more situational than it is him. And then with Aiden O'Connell, this guy came back 39 days after breaking his thumb and threw for 340 yards on a short week. So we know he's got the toughness. We know he's got the ability. Question the game plan with outside the pocket type stuff changes if Desmond Ritter's your quarterback.
And Aiden O'Connell did that against the championship defense too.
That's right.
So that's
on the road. That's right.
On the road.
And it was cold.
And it was cold. And he had to walk uphill in snow both ways. No, sorry, it wasn't that. Look,
right.
This Raiders team. You mentioned this earlier in the interview here that they were down 14-0 to the Bucs. They fought their way back, but typically this Raiders team has not been built to play from behind. And if you look at Atlanta, they give up the majority of their touchdowns in the first half. So how important will that early start be and really attacking them early?
Well, they do, but they did just give up 21 fourth quarter points to Minnesota. That the game for the Falcons, it was 21 apiece with 9 or 10 minutes to go, maybe a little bit more in the fourth quarter, and they end up losing 42-21. So there is that. But here's the other important part. I think This is an offense where the quarterback has been sacked a lot, this being the Raiders. And I don't know where we rank right now going into this week, but this is an offense that has been towards the bottom in the NFL in sacks allowed all year. And a lot of that's been on the quarterbacks, especially as this year has gone on. The Falcons are dead last in sacks. They are, there's a lot of people who cover the Falcons this week who have been writing about mock drafts for next year. And, obviously they're projecting to get an edge rusher or whatever. And they are all lamenting the fact that with the 8th pick, they didn't take an edge rusher or a defensive player, but instead they drafted Michael Penix, right? And so they are in that spot where they have not gotten after the quarterback very well at all. And so this is a week where the Raiders need to come out, protect whoever is the quarterback, establish the ground game. And here's the other thing, Amber, this team, the Raiders not once, we've played 13 games, not once have the Raiders put it in the end zone, twice in the first half. I believe 13 is the most we have scored in the first half. I believe it was against Denver, and it's been once. That's it.
Yeah.
That's got to change.
Points have been a premium.
At least one time this year. That's got to change. And why not do it on Monday Night Football against a team that's fighting for the playoffs?
Hey, that would be fun for Raider Nation to watch. All right, finish this sentence for me. I always ask you this. The Raiders will win if...
the Raiders will win if Sincere McCormick scores his first career touchdown.
Ooh, I like that. I love that.
Okay, so not to say that the Raiders haven't scored a lot of rushing touchdowns, but my gut is if Sincere McCormick scores his first career rushing touchdown, it's going to be followed by his second career rushing touchdown. And this man is going to have his first career 100-yard game to take the pressure off of whichever guy is the quarterback. And I only say that because he hasn't had that chance yet. And so I think that would be if Sincere McCormick is in the end zone for the first time in his career, the Raiders will beat the Falcons.
You know what? You make the Falcons make a business decision at that point. If he's really running the ball well, he's scoring a touchdown, what are you going to do with that safety that you might have to keep back to protect Brock Bowers? You see where I'm going here? All of a sudden, it opens up Brock.
I do. It does. And, Brock is not that far from, and here's, we live in a world, Amber, where people love to talk about asterisks or well, that record's not real or that didn't really happen or whatever it might be. Mike Ditka set the rookie tight end receiving record 15 games back in 1961. This is Brock's 14th game, and I believe the number is 144 yards he needs, 134 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. Big game. Big game, right? But we've seen him do it once this year where he's had 140 yards. And we've seen him top 10 catches multiple times this year. So, to your point, if Brock has that big game in front of an entire audience watching Monday Night Football or listening, more importantly, to us, because why would you want to watch Chris Fowler? Well, you watch Chris Fowler talk college football. So listen to us. And maybe Brock has that first ever 150-yard game and then breaks the record in the same amount of games that Mike Ditka did back in 1961.
That would be awesome. You know what? We're not going to tell Dan Orlovsky, who was the interview before you, about what you said about not. Look, we need to back Raider Nation Radio, so we need to listen to Jason Horowitz. All right, hey, we appreciate you, Jason. We'll see you out there on Monday Night Football. Excited to see you.
Weekend, Amber. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, coming up, he flies under the radar, but not on the stat sheet. We sit down with Raiders linebacker Robert Spillane next on the Silver and Black Show.
Every year, millions fly with us at Allegiant because together, we go places. We see old friends and try new things. We laugh. We really like to laugh. And reconnect. We remember, and we wander, which leads to wonder. From how we go, to where we go, to what we do when we get there, we go further, together.
Taste is not an option. Taste is everything. 1800, the world's most awarded tequila.
Some days are long, some nights never end. I'm on the fleeting seconds flight. I pray to the coming wind. And timelines never stood around for me. I've loved every sky I've ever seen.
Now the Ravens moving the ball. Dave Flowers motions left to right. Jackson to throw. Bateman there. It's batted up in the air. And Spillane's got it with a pick. He's back up on his feet and he's racing. But he picked it off on the deflection. Play action. Settles in the pocket. And down he goes. Hit from behind by Robert Spillane. He came right through the middle. And he dropped him for a loss of 8.
Hanging out with Raiders linebacker Robert Spillane, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Well, anytime you're sitting here, that means good things are happening. We always like to give you love. I feel like you're one of the leaders on this defense. You guys continue to scrap. You continue to make it difficult for teams that are still playing for something. Where does that fight to the end mentality come from with this defense?
Yeah, what an opportunity. Monday Night Football against the Atlanta Falcons. Me personally, we have everything to play for. I know it's not the playoffs, but every man out there has their career at stake every time you step on the field. So I try to tell my guys, go out there, have fun, and you never know. You could be the one to create a legendary play that's remembered for forever. So go out there with that intention.
Well, obviously the players deserve the credit, but how does Coach Pierce's experience as a Super Bowl champion linebacker kind of help him continue to lead this team, especially the linebackers?
Yeah, AP is a leader of men. He does a great job commanding himself in a room full of alpha males, and he does a great job getting his words across and his culture and his attitude. So I'm excited to be playing under him.
Continue to fight. Well, you mentioned that you said I tell my guys, so that means that you're mentoring in some sort of a way. At one point in the season, did you kind of look around and find yourself as one of the seasoned veterans still standing, and you knew that it would take guys like you or Max or guys that have been around to mentor and pull these guys up?
Obviously things haven't gone our way. Being 2-11 is a tough spot to be and a tough place to be, and as a leader, I always put that on myself, so I feel like I've been a problem, and I'm always trying to work on myself to get better. And By doing that, I feel like I have a voice to be able to talk to my teammates and tell them what I need out of them and give them advice and love and encouragement and words of wisdom to try to help them grow their games.
Well, a lot of young guys have had an opportunity, and like you said, at any moment they could make a game-changing play. Who of these young players who have been asked to step up on defense, especially, really stand out to you?
Yeah, I think I would start with Isaiah at safety. The kid runs like a corner and hits like a middle linebacker. He's fast and a dynamic player for us, so I love having him behind me. Felt natural, like he just plugged in. As soon as he got on the field, it felt natural. So, yeah, shout out to Isaiah. He's come a long way. He's on year 3, and I only see a brighter future for him.
That's quite a compliment. I've never heard a linebacker say that. I feel comfortable with him behind me when it comes to a safety.
For me, that's the most important thing. I got to trust my nickel to my right. I got to trust my money linebacker to my left. I got to trust my safeties behind me. And then I just tell the D-line, go be hungry dogs. Go eat. Yeah. I'm behind you. I'll make you right. Just go eat. And then good things happen. But
we're seeing that from some of the linemen as well. Like Caleb Von Chason has been playing
no doubt.
like crazy as well. Seems like there's a lot of blue-collar kind of guys on this team, and you embody that. You seem to take pride in that. Was hard work something that your parents instilled in you growing up in Illinois?
Yeah, without a doubt. I take that silver and black mentality not just on the football field, but throughout my life. My dad is a carpenter, works with his hands. My mom has always been a grinder in her day-to-day. So definitely learned that from a young age, that nothing comes easy. I think it helps that I have such a big chip on my shoulder. I always feel like there's more to be proved and there's more out there. So I still continue to this day have that big chip on my shoulder, and I know that there's so much to be proved.
Where does the chip on your shoulder come from? Because for everybody, they have different motivation. I feel like personally, watching you look at something like you're top 10 in tackling in the NFL right now, one of the most fundamental tacklers in the NFL, yet we don't hear a lot about that. Sometimes do you feel like here's 2 questions. One, do you feel like you fly under the radar a little bit?
For me, I want my play to speak for myself. That's why I limit myself in the media. I don't go out posting. I don't seek media attention because I want people to respect me through my play. And I've noticed throughout the years that more and more peers from across the sideline will come over to me after the game and tell me that they respect my game. And that's what means the most important to me, like having mutual respect between my peers and my teammates, most importantly. And my teammates have my back, and they've told me that since day one, so I'm going to keep going out there and being a leader for them.
That's all you need, it sounds like. You don't need all the recognition. I did mention the tackling, though. That's just a fundamental skill. How much emphasis have you put on that as part of your craft and your career?
Without a doubt. I start with football positioning, which precedes tackling, and I try to carry that football positioning every step I'm out there. So whether I'm crossover running, dropping back pedals, or running forward, I want to stay in a strong football positioning. So that's what has helped me make tackles in the NFL.
So focusing on being in the right place,
focusing
essentially,
on
to simplify
being in the right place and being ready to make the play, yes.
You got the Falcons this weekend, as you said. What an opportunity on Monday Night Football. We do know they hand the ball off a lot because Kirk Cousins has been struggling. They hand the ball off a lot to Bijan Robinson. What makes him a tough back to stop? What's your
Yeah,
feel?
he's one of the best young backs in the game, without a doubt. The ability to stretch defenses both laterally and vertically down the field. He has such speed, and then the ability to stick his leg in the ground and cut back like not many other backs. He has double moves, he has triple moves, he has contact balance. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, he can run routes. He's a full package, top tier back, probably top 5 in the league. So.
Well, it's going to be rocking at Allegiant. You know, Raider Nation's going to be out there supporting you guys prime time. The world's going to be watching. How do the Raiders get the win? What do you guys have to do on Monday Night
Yeah, we got to
Football?
play good, fundamental team football, complementary football, defense getting stops, special teams, flipping field, offense scoring points, and that's what it comes down to. How can we get a turnover on defense? How can we set up our offense to score the ball? And then how can we do it again and again and again and just stay at it for 4 quarters? And we're looking to put together a complete game on Monday night.
Well, Robert, it's fun to watch you out there and keep doing what you're doing because the grind, the grit, people that know football really enjoy watching you play.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Coming up, why this year's adversity could pay dividends on next year's roster. A closer look at the young players turning heads. It's One Last Thing next.
Every year, millions fly with us at Allegiant because together, we go places. We see old friends and try new things. We laugh. We really like to laugh. And reconnect. We remember. And we wander, which leads to wonder. From how we go to where we go to what we do when we get there, we go further together.
In 300 feet, turn left.
With Cox's fiber-powered internet, you can do brilliant things.
Exit approaching.
Like upload your voice to Dad's GPS in no time flat.
And I miss you, Daddy. Happy birthday.
Get multi-gig download speeds powered by fiber. Upgrade your internet today with Cox, the nation's fastest internet provider. Limited availability in select areas.
Some days are long, some nights never end. I mark the fleeting seconds glide, I pray to the coming wind. And time like snow never stood around for me. I love every sky I've ever seen.
Celebrate 65 seasons of Raiders football. Be a part of our legacy with a special edition brick featuring the exclusive 65th anniversary logo. Get your brick installed at Allegiant Stadium along with a replica for your home or office. Order now and support the Raiders Foundation, benefiting military and veterans, wellness initiatives, and youth development. Secure your place in Raiders history today at RaidersFoundationBricks.com. The Silver and Black Show has been brought to you by Cox, proud partner of the Las Vegas Raiders, Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Las Vegas Raiders and the NFL, and by Allegiant, the official airline of the Raiders. Low fares, non-stop flights, only at Allegiant.com. Time now for One Last Thing. Every year, a handful of obscure NFL players make a name for themselves. Sometimes it's a practice squad guy like Sincere McCormick, or a high draft pick who just didn't work out with another team like Kayvon Chason. Or sometimes it's a player who scouts simply put in the JAG category, thinking he's just a guy. Well, this year the Raiders' laundry list of injuries has given players from all those categories a chance, and Coach Antonio Pierce is finding some playmakers.
Well, I'll go back to it's good we don't talk about him, DJ Glaze. I mean, he's been the most consistent rookie that I think we've had other than Brock, you know. The other player that you see, and you only see a little bit of him, hopefully get him some more reps, is Amari Burney. I think he's done a good job as well. Trey Tucker for the limited touches, but there's been some great opportunities there for him. And then Jackson Powers. You know, I would say those are the guys that stand out. Isaiah Palomar is another one who's taking advantage of a player going down in Marcus Epps and has really stepped in and kind of put himself in position to be a starter going forward.
Well, last week against the Bucs, guys who weren't even on the radar in training camp like Darnay Holmes and Amari Burney came up big on defense. And former Jags first-round pick Kayvon Chason has shown he could be a starting pass rusher in this league. In the last 2 games, look at those numbers. He's had an interception, 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and 2 tackles for loss. His success and others like Sincere McCormick's, who, oh, by the way, is averaging 5.5 yards per carry, are examples of how a never quit mentality can pay off.
You know, people know my story, people know the journey that I've been through, and it shows you that hard work and dedication pays off. And, you know, it's just, just staying patient, staying ready at all times, so you never know what can happen. I had a belief. I mean, honestly, it was just something that, you have to be patient for. Like I said, I attack each and every day, too, as if I'm playing in the game, just so I don't have to get ready and be struggling. It's just like, gotta have that mental battle that, you're out here every day, you're busting your butt, and you continue to put on film and put on, like, your film is your resume.
So while nothing good comes from a 2-11 season, perhaps the silver lining is the Raiders found some diamonds in the rough who just needed the right opportunity. They'll certainly offer some much-needed depth to the roster in 2025. That'll do it for us. We'll see you out there for Monday Night Football at Allegiant. It is Falcons and Raiders, 5:30 kickoff. Have a great weekend, everyone.